Good evening. Welcome to Sistabiz. My name is Tamara Brown. My chief of staff, my my road dog Nicole Orr is with us
Hey,
this evening. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. We've got a
Good.
special rare guest this evening. Very excited to interview former police commissioner Leonard Hamm. We're going to talk about the city crime, right? And so tell us about your week, Nicole. Anything interesting?
It's always interesting. In Baltimore, it's like the city that never sleeps. And so for the most part, just working and trying to put together and just be out more on the scene, seeing what's going on, who's who amongst who, and the different events, and just trying to stay abreast as best as possible in the
Okay.
city stuff.
Well, what we wanted to do is start the show off with a speech or a statement from Brandon Scott on the when we hit 300 murders in the city. So I'm going to read it briefly, and I'm going to turn on my acting. So let's open the scene here. Okay, I am outraged that Baltimore recorded its 300th homicide of the year tonight, and this was stated on November 17th. Okay, this number provokes more than just pain and disappointment over the sheer loss of life. It forces us to think about the families, communities, and that will forever be impacted by this heinous cycle of violence. We lost friends, loved ones. Baltimore City cannot continue to be desensitized by their loss. Far too many interpersonal conflicts and domestic disputes are escalating into fatal violence. Failing to recognize the value of human life cannot continue to be the norm in Baltimore. This should anger all of us to do more so that our city can truly be more. As your mayor, I am far from satisfied. My team and I are working tirelessly to implement a violence prevention plan that saves lives, reduces trauma. Under my leadership, there will no longer be about police alone, but they certainly have an important role to play. Because of the importance of collaboration, I restarted the Criminal Justice Coordination Council to ensure that our state and federal partners are back on the table with us. And through my police stat process, I will continue to hold the police department accountable for closing violent cases and bringing violent offenders to justice. Baltimore, we will be better. I will not rest until every neighborhood is safe. And that is from our current mayor, Brandon Scott. And on that, we are going to introduce former police commissioner of Baltimore City, Leonard Hamm. Good evening, Mr. Hamm. How are you?
Good evening, Ms. Brown. Ms. Orr, how are you all?
Hi, sir. Wonderful. And how are
Wonderful to
you?
have you.
Mhm.
And the reason we wanted to bring you on, you were not a former police chief that does many interviews. We've seen some former on the news a lot, but we don't get to speak to you. And during your time, it was from 2007 to 11. Was that
Four
your
to seven.
4 to 7? Yes. That's when crime was below 300. And I don't think we've had crime below 300 since 2015. We've continued to exceed every year. So we wanted to bring someone on that was instrumental in ensuring that Baltimore City crime wasn't at, of course, we want it to be no murders, but we were below 200 during your time with the city. What are your thoughts on the current the current administration and what we could be doing better?
Well, of course, I don't like seeing people killed, this many people killed. But I think that we're approaching this in the wrong way, and that crime is a symptom of some other stuff that's not working in the city. When you have housing problems, when you have health problems, when you have economic problems, when you have educational problems, and then when you have transportation problems, you're going to have crime. Crime is a symptom of all of these things that's not working in the city. Because when these things not working, then the people who are committing crime doesn't have any hope. And they're going to do whatever it is they have to do in order to survive. So I think that we need to stop pointing fingers at people and this person's not doing this and this person's not doing that, and understand and stop trying to, put all our resources into an open wound that keeps bleeding. And we need to understand, why is this wound open and why is it bleeding? Well, it's bleeding because of other stuff that's not happening.
Today we hit
I
311.
wonder, for example, I
I'm
wonder,
sorry.
for example, there's certain communities in this city that don't have crime, and there's certain communities that do. And really, it doesn't have anything to do with race. It has to do with these other things. It has to do with opportunities to succeed and opportunities to do well. So those are my thoughts. I think that, and that's one of the things. And plus, what we also did was we invested in relationship capital. Relationship capital. We bonded with our federal friends and our state friends and our local friends, and everybody came together based on leadership, good leadership, and we all were on the same page. And I don't see a lot of that happening in the city. What we're doing here is we're trying to fix the blame on somebody, because of all of this stuff that's happening. And the fact of the matter is, it's all of us that's not performing the way we should perform. If that makes any sense to you two.
It does. We focus all the time on opportunity as being one of basically the foundations to crime happening. Today we hit 311 murders, and just in review of some of the things that Safe Streets in the neighborhoods, that Safe Streets, which is a program, as you know, started 2007 here in Baltimore. The neighborhoods that they're focusing, I'm wondering is the crime moving to other locations, because apparently what they're doing is not working. 311 today is a lot.
Look, don't blame those guys. In fact, I was at a car wash today, and one of the leaders of the Sandtown Safe Streets walked up to me and said, man, because people come to me and want to talk to me. He wants Safe Streets to evolve into creating a situation where people in that area can create economic opportunities. And he wants to sit down and talk to me about that, because he understands that that Safe Street thing has to evolve to something else to give people hope. You can walk up to a guy and say, hey man, that beef ain't right, you need to stop beefing and all that. So now once you've done that, and now they're not beefing anymore, now what are you going to do to give these people hope and put them on the right road? And I think this one brother who's dealing with Safe Streets in Sandtown, Winchester, he's got the right idea, but he needs hope. How can we create an economic wheel to Safe Streets to add to that?
And that, I think that's the question, of the hour. And it's been the question for a long time, especially when you have the city is not necessarily, they're always looking for labor and in human capital outside of the city. So when there's no opportunity, there's going to be crime. And is the city necessarily, especially with the taxpayers, holding the developers, the different businesses that are doing business with the city accountable for employing Baltimore City residents? I mean, data is showing otherwise. That's a major problem.
Well, that's a problem. Another problem too is zoning. You have a lot of people who are have an entrepreneurial spirit and want to do stuff, and and want to do some economic stuff, but because of zoning, they can't really do it. Look, I told you today I'm on the corner with this guy who's washing cars, doing a wonderful business. It's on the corner of Pressman and Fremont. And I hope I'm not giving them away, because somebody will probably go up there and shut him down because of zoning. So I hope I'm not doing the brother, a bad turn here. But there are a lot of guys who want to hustle like that, but because of zoning and because of some other stuff, they're not able to.
Nicole, we were dealing with that.
Politicians have to look into that too.
Nicole and I were dealing with that just this week.
It's not altogether the big developers.
Mm-hmm.
It's these other little things too.
Well, you have a lot of neighborhoods that have pushed this racist agenda through planning where they have converted commercial storefronts back to residential if it has not been utilized for a year. And a lot of it is being implemented very strategically through a lot of your neighborhood associations based upon personal preference or issues that they may have had with previous owners to want to convert those to certain properties over to residential. It's detrimental, and it's proven to be detrimental in a lot of areas. People say, oh well, we don't want that corner store in our neighborhood because it brings drug dealers, it brings this, it brings that. But at the same time, the property may not be anything that can be utilized for anything residential, but the city is being utilized as some type of tool to stop, a business from coming back into that. I know myself, I faced the same issue and I had to bring in an attorney, we fought through zoning, but it's a situation that it's kind of pointless, because why are they targeting the small commercial people that want to do business in the neighborhood instead of focusing again on the problem? Those people that are loitering, those people that are dealing the drugs. I mean, is it wrong to want to sell?
So, Miss, what's your question?
So, well, you were saying,
what's your question?
We had this issue this week, Chief Hamm, just to enlighten what you were saying with the zoning issues. A young man that is cleaning up his life, has had run-ins with the law, and now is trying to do the right thing. Has purchased a building, a storefront. I'm not going to say what district. I'm not going to say what council member. I'm not going to say what neighborhood is pushing against that because he wants to open a convenience store with the residential on top of it. So zoning, just to enlighten what you're saying, it's actually an issue we're dealing with this week with someone that's trying to do the right thing, wanting to stay off the street, not wanting to commit crimes, do things, employ people, and he's stopped by zoning. He can't do any work, and the people that he has employed can't go to work because of this very issue that you were talking about. So that is very true. Wasn't a question. We're kind of just capping off of what you said. It's a very true statement, and I see it. We just saw it yesterday.
So what do you do about that? Well, we elect all these city council folk.
We do, but we don't.
Don't we elect all these state senators? Don't we elect all of these delegates? Don't we elect them? And guess what? All of them now coming to me for money. They want me to come to their thing. They're going out and they want money.
Well,
so when are we going to start holding people accountable?
We can't get the right people to run against them is the problem. If you look at some of the state senators are pretty much running unopposed to date. It's difficult to find people that will step up and run against them. So we always encourage our viewers. We need a new breed of people to come forward, and we keep getting the same people over and over. So when we think we're getting something new, like I think people thought they were getting something new with a Brandon Scott, something younger with a different idea, when he is the same. He's thread from the same. He's a coat from the same thread of everyone else. So we don't have any hope because no one will step up and run.
There's always hope. There's always somebody out there. You may not like them, but there's always somebody out there. There were 3 people who ran for mayor, a female, an older gentleman, and Brandon Scott. And Brandon Scott was the people's choice. He wasn't my choice. I'm going to say that now. He wasn't my choice.
It wasn't mine either.
Because one of the things I do, politicians who want to get elected will always tell you, especially the new ones that's coming in, not incumbents, but they will always tell you what's wrong. This is wrong, that's wrong, we'll fix it. I don't need to know what's wrong, I know what's wrong. So tell me what you propose to do about it, how you're going to do it, how much, and how you're going to pay for it. These are the things I want to know. I think that the current administration that's running Baltimore City are finding out that maybe Jack Young wasn't so bad. Maybe Jack was on the money, because they're finding out it is a bear. It is a bear. So we have to look at who we're electing. We have to listen to what people say. We have to stop voting, I think, with our heart. Well, I like him. I like her. She's good looking and shape and all this kind of stuff. That don't work anymore. That don't work anymore. And you may not like a person and all this kind of stuff, but you got to look at what the person is saying to you and how and what they're going to do for us. What they're going to do for us. And I'm telling you, this zoning thing, man, is something. And
Well, look,
everybody will give you a reason why it can't be done and why we can't do it. And I say that's bunk. You change it just like you change everything else.
well, look who's actually heading a lot of those zoning. And I mean, I'm curious to know if they are city residents. Some of them that sit on this board. Uh, but it's very alarming. It's not a diverse group.
Uh, So, Miss Orr, what are you
What
gonna
do
do
we?
about it? What you gonna do
Well,
about it?
I didn't appoint them, and
Miss
they're
Orr,
not
what are you gonna do
elected.
about it? You
What am
got the
I doing?
platform, Miss Orr, you got the platform. This is the platform. What are you gonna do about it?
Well, city planners are always they never look like us. Morgan State has a program there, and it's just interesting that Morgan State has this program, and our planners are always white. People running
So,
housing are always white.
so Mrs. Brown,
I say it on here. I use my
Mrs. Brown.
platform to speak my mind.
So,
I'm
so
not
what's the
afraid.
solution in this show for
Oh no,
solutions? Uh,
I say
We
all the
call it. We
time.
call it out.
We call it out. We call out my first name, middle name, and if I know it, and last name. But it's not making a difference yet. We're trying to work through it and get more people to run.
I
It's
think that
difficult.
just don't give up. Call them out, call their names, call them out. And just don't give up. And I know you laugh and you say, "Really, you got nothing to lose? What you got to lose? What, Miss Orr, what you got to lose?"
Oh,
I
you
have
haven't
no.
watched
That's
this
what I
show,
say. I have
man.
nothing
You
to
haven't
lose. I
watched
say
this
whatever I want
show.
to say. I have
I,
nothing to lose. Call them out.
well, I'm gonna call out Jack Young because you called him.
You gonna call them
Uh,
out, J1?
I'm gonna call out Jack Young. You mentioned his name. I mean, you want us to speak out. So Jack Young,
Go
when he
ahead.
was the mayor, he got in that seat and he let everybody around him run the city except for himself, and that's where he went wrong. So I do understand that he had
You
things
broke
that
off.
he
What'd
may
you
have wanted
say?
to do. He had things that he may have wanted to do that we didn't see because he was letting other people run the city for him. If you want me to call people out, I can go down a long list, but it will take up the whole show. We're here to interview you. So I think
But
there's a bit
But
of,
that's what needs to happen.
But the thing is that when you
That's
call them
that's what.
out, they don't really listen. I mean, when we explored what's going on over in the Poppleton neighborhood, where it's along the same lines of the highway to nowhere, where the city basically comes in and they're declaring eminent domain against private property for another private developer. And here nor there. I mean, I would love to see, a black man be able to take this development, wonderful, and do it, bring some hope to Baltimore City. However, when you're taking people's homes, it's a little different when you're saying that it's for the public good. Like, that is such a fine line. And I know for a fact that the people that are organizing to help fight against the eminent domain have been requesting to meet with Alice Kennedy for I don't know how long. And she will show up to every other event, again, appointed by Brandon Scott, except she won't meet with these people. And I think that's very alarming. Same with Brandon Scott. I mean, he appears at every other neighborhood. He's been to Pigtown probably about 45 times. I'm exaggerating that number, but he won't go a little bit to the west to talk to a woman that is losing her home, a home where she had her children, her grandchildren, and it's just a little alarming. And again, I'm all for development, but when it's done correctly, and I think that the city should sit down. But we've talked about it time and time again, and it's like crickets. So I guess if you're not contributing to their
Well,
campaign, they don't care.
well, well. Stay on it. Don't give up. Just stay on it. Something will happen. Stay on it. Don't give up. I live in the neighborhood, Madison Park. I'm very proud of this neighborhood. I'm very proud of this community because we have a mixed community, diverse people, diverse incomes. We have some homeowners, some renters, and these people get together and they get things done. I'm very proud of them. We have a park at the end of our block. This community association was able to obtain that park, keep it clean, and it's a wonderful place where kids can go. Now, before we got the park, drug addicts used to go there and participate in all that kind of stuff. Well, the drug addicts don't come there anymore because now the community owns it, keeps it clean, keep it nice, and now the drug addicts want to keep it nice too, and they say, I'm not going to go over here and mess this up. So what I'm saying is, when I look at neighborhoods, neighborhoods to me are green, yellow, and red. Green neighborhoods are the ones that's functioning wonderfully. They have some challenges, but they know how to face those challenges. Yellow neighborhoods are the ones that could go either way. They could go either red or they could go either green. So the green neighborhoods have to help the yellow neighborhoods. And then those two have to help the red neighborhoods. And that's the way I see it working. So when you look at where I am, right? All right, you got Bolton Hills. I live in between Bolton Hills and all that stuff. Bolton Hill obviously is a green neighborhood. Madison Park is right next to it. We're a green neighborhood. Now we're going to go to Jewett Heights, these two greens, and help Jewett Heights, which is a red neighborhood that's rating on the yellow side. That's how it's done. And then what you do is you work together to solve all of these problems. And when you have relationship capital where people come together, then a lot of these other people back off. You're not going to do it by yourself. You're not going to do it alone because then the powers that be say that you're just out there hollering at the wind. But when you put all of these people together, oh man, it's a beautiful thing, especially people who have disposable income. You know what I mean, Mrs. Orr?
Yes.
I do. I think that is where it
So-
is. Yeah,
So
100%.
don't give up, and you all start working to bring these green neighborhoods together to help out the yellow and the red neighborhoods.
We're working on that. We're working on that.
I know you are.
So let's just get back to.
I know I'm boring you. I know.
No, not at
No,
all.
I'm engaged.
We're gonna get
Nope,
into your
I
book
do.
in a moment. But I do want to talk about, hypothetically, you're police chief right now. What are you hypothetically?
Oh, okay.
What would you do the crime is just out of control. What can we do?
Well, let me say this to you. Let me say this to you. I don't have any statistics. I don't know any statistics other than the ones that you talked to me about. I use my eyes. I look at what I see out on the street because I'm on the street a lot. And one of the things that I've noticed on the street is I don't see a lot of police on the street. I don't see a lot of them. Now, when there is an emergency call, a shooting, a stabbing, a cutting, or something like that, they come out almost nowhere. And everybody flock around nowhere. But for the most part, I don't see them. And let me just ramble a little bit, because I love this city. I'm not afraid to go anywhere in this city. You know what I'm afraid of about this city? I'm afraid of traffic because the people in this city drive like they're crazy. They run red lights. They turn around. That's what frightens me. Being in a car trying to drive is the traffic. So I think one of the first things that has to happen is we have to look at the police department. Let's start with the police department. We have to look at the police department and we have to train police officers and get them to understand what their job is because police don't know what their job is. They really don't. If you ask any one of them, they'll tell you a whole bunch of stuff, peace, protect property, person, all that stuff. That's not what it's all about. A police job is very simply to help the community solve its problems. That's it. And what we do is we give you all of these things, these tools in your tool belt to help you solve these problems. Part of solving the problem is enforcing the law. That's one way that you do it. All right. But your main purpose is to help the community solve its problems. That's what you have to do. Now, do you realize that about 70% of the calls for police service has nothing to do with crime? It has to do with people who have problems. When I was pushing a patrol car, I can tell you the kind of calls I got other than crime. I got a call one time. Let me just tell you, this is when I was young and all this kind of stuff. I get a call one day on Park Avenue for a disturbance. This mother and father was in the house. One was a PhD and one was a doctor or something. They called me because their 15-year-old daughter was up in her bedroom throwing stuff around, throwing furniture around. So they called the police. So I got to say, what you want me to do? So they tell me what's going on. I say, go up there and beat her ass. And I walked out. So you get these kind of calls at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Problem solved.
Right. So my point is, that's what my job is as a police officer, to help these people, solve their problems. And that's what we have to do. Now, police officers don't understand that. The average police officer is trained, and I know because I was in the training academy, I was an instructor in the training academy, and I ran the training academy. We never train police on how to deal with law-abiding citizens. We train police on how to deal with criminals. We never train police on how to deal with a person to say, good morning. I'm John Smith. I live here. Anything that you need, you can help me with. We never train police how to deal with a person like that. Law-abiding citizens. We train police to deal with people who say, you MF so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. Oh, we know what to do with you. We know what to do with you. So it's all about training. It's all about understanding what your job is. It's responding to people. It's helping people out and helping their needs. And guess what? If you do that, you'll get people on your side. You'll get them on your side. When I walked that foot post up the 900 block of White Lock Street, those folks up there loved me. And they would tell the criminals, don't put your hand on him. He's our police, and you better not touch him.
But you lived in the city, and a lot of the police officers don't tend to live in the city. I remember during some of the uprising recently with George Floyd, when I was down at City Hall with protesters, I met a police officer who was, in front of City Hall guarding an empty building. And, he was coming from, I think, like Howard County or something, and he didn't live in the city. And he had no desire to live in the city. Do you think that should be a requirement for police officers to live in the city?
It's tough, though.
I would tell you, no, I wouldn't. I didn't have that requirement when I was police commissioner, because my requirement was, we're going to train you to police this place the right way. I don't give a shit where you live. You're going to do right by these people. That takes training, that takes supervision, and you got to have your supervisors, doing that. And one of the reasons also, too, that I didn't really require that was because a lot of my officers had young kids, and the school system wasn't what it should be. So I really couldn't expect these young officers to send those kids to those schools. Now, fortunately, there's a place over in East Baltimore called St. Francis, where I sent my son. I could afford to send him to St. Francis. And those nuns were on the mark, and they were on the money. And he got an outstanding education. Back in the day, when I was growing up, I went to City College. Best school in the land. No school is better than City. Even that one on Cold Spring Lane. What they call that one on Cold Spring Lane? I forget what they call it.
Is that
but
Polly?
Anyway, what none best. So to answer your question, I can't say that. I can't, say that I would want everybody, but we're going to train you to care for this city and do right by this city. So that's on us, because there's no guarantee that even people who were born in this city is going to do right by the city. Do you know a lot of Black people hate themselves and hate other Black people? So do you really want that person out there? So, what we do is we have to train them right. We have to supervise them right to see that they do what they're supposed to do.
Now, that was powerful, that Black people do hate themselves. I mean, right now we're operating probably probably at about 85% Black leadership. And yet the poverty rate for Black people in the city is alarming. Again, it all goes back to the opportunity and the vacant homes. They just announced that they want to start with the dollar homes again. I guess, but my concern is with
Ms.
that.
Orr, didn't I say early on, the E's and the H's and the T, health, housing, economic, education, and trade. Didn't I tell you about it? You got to fix that, else you're going to continue to have crime.
They need to, but the question is that even with the dollar houses, that's going to be a major thing, because you can purchase a home for $1, but a lot of these homes need a lot of money. So my thing is that with the money that's coming, the millions of dollars, what is the city going to do to help these people put these houses back up to where they can be occupied?
Well, that's a question for the mayor, and it ain't no question for me, and that's a question for the mayor.
No, but we're inquiring.
No, you said no. I got hypothetically, I'm the police commissioner, not the mayor.
I know.
well, hypothetically, police commissioner. Go ahead and finish.
But I'm just curious to know, like, what do you think that? Of course, we want to get rid of the vacants. We definitely want to get rid of the vacant houses, but is the dollar program necessarily an answer that you think would help solve that problem?
Look, I really don't necessarily think that that's the answer. I really don't. I would approach it from another perspective. I would approach it from, if I got a green community like here in Madison Park, right? If I'm the mayor, I would go to these people in Madison Park and I say, look, we got up, but what do you think we ought to do with them? No, at them. And we talk about that in our community meetings. You know what the people in Madison Park say about vacant houses in Madison Park? Let us buy them. Let's buy them. Let's get them and turn them over to us and let us deal with it. Is that one solution?
I think that's a great solution to. I heard you. I think he's coming. Is he coming back? But I mean, I think that's a good solution. But then you run into other situations when people do that. They bring it to the.
I was cut off. So come back and what was the question now?
My question was, you were saying that you wanted that it would be great if the neighborhoods would take these vacants. But then again, you come up against it's okay for you to take the properties. I mean, you pay $1 here, $1 there, but the renovation cost, the expense, who's going to help foot that bill? I mean, because the average right now renovation for a lot of these gut rehabilitations is
who has the money in the city?
The mayor and the city council.
Then that's who should pay.
Yeah, but we haven't heard anything about that.
I haven't heard about a city loan problem.
That's who should pay.
Yeah.
We will help you solve your problem, Mr. Mayor, but this is what you have to do. Then that's who you should pay. That's who should pay.
I have a question
sure.
regarding.
I know it all sounds ridiculous because you've been at. It can be done.
It can be done. It can be done.
Ms. Brown, you had a question?
I had a question regarding your take. You are still hypothetically the police commissioner, and we saw what happened after Freddie Gray. We're under a consent decree, and I spoke to a police officer maybe about a month or two ago, and it was an issue, a contractual issue, when someone called a police officer out, and he makes a joke and says, we can't arrest anybody for these low-level crimes. What are your thoughts on what the state's attorney is currently doing and how that's contributing to crime?
First of all, let me say this. Can I cuss on here?
Go ahead.
Cuss, right?
Yeah, this is Facebook. Right? This is Facebook.
What that police officer said to you is completely bullshit. His job is to enforce laws and statutes, not to worry about what the state's attorney is going to do. That police officer is using her as an excuse not to do his job. If I'm police commissioner, I ain't having that bullshit. I don't care whether she prosecutes or not. That's not your job. That's not your responsibility. And I wish you'd have taken that police officer's name, because we could deal with him and we can deal with them. But all of that is an excuse. Now, getting back to what she's doing, not prosecuting this crazy mess, she's absolutely right. She is absolutely 100% right. She's right. You're going to fill up the jail with junkies, with people who need help, people who should be in a hospital. So she's right not doing that. I applaud her for not doing that. Now, here's the problem that I think had with all of that stuff. I believe if she didn't, maybe she did. But I believe she should have come to the police commissioner and come to the mayor and say, look, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I want to do it, and I need you all to back me on this. See, that's relationship capital that I'm talking about. You just can't come out blanket and say these things without explaining why you want to do it and get the necessary help in order to do that. I wish that she would have gotten these people on her side and say, this is why I'm doing this stuff. But she's absolutely right in what she's doing.
Do you think it's contributing to the crime level spiking? What do you think is the contribution? Is it the consent decree? Is it these low crimes?
Well, the fact of the matter is, you have law enforcement people engaged with stopping crime who are not engaged. It's that simple. They're not engaged.
So they're not engaged, and they're saying it's because of Marilyn Mosby, and your answer is that that's an excuse.
They're not engaged,
and they're still getting paid a lot of overtime.
Let's look. Now, then the other day we had 7 people shot in East Baltimore somewhere. All right. Now, back in the day, on my post, if I had 7 people like that congregating, I would be right there in the middle of them and say, "Hey, fellas, what's going on? What's going on?" And I wouldn't have abused their rights. I wouldn't have said to them, "You got to move." I wouldn't have said that at all. I'd have parked my car, got out my car, and stand right in the middle of them. And they would say to me, "The hell are you doing here?" "The street." "Yeah, you on the street? I can be on the street. Can I be on the street?" And guess what they would do? They would walk away. And if they went across the street,
you can't refute that crime went over 300 when Marilyn Mosby took office.
Look, I have no problem with Marilyn Mosby. I'm telling you, I have no problems with that. I think what she's doing, as far as prosecuting certain cases, is absolutely right. I have no problem with that. And because she didn't participate in relationship capital, in my opinion, they're coming at her. That's all. And look at this. When is the last time you had the media come at Michael Harrison? They don't. You know why they don't? Because Michael Harrison has learned to cultivate them. He's cultivating them. He's talking to them whenever they want to talk. He's saying stuff whenever they want to say. He's giving them information whenever he wants to get them information. What does the mayor do? The mayor is telling he ain't talking to nobody. He's not going to any kind of town hall meetings. He's not doing anything. Merlin has done the same thing. So what did the media do? Chop them up. The media chop them up. They don't chop Harrison up. And Harrison has completely lost control of the police department. Them guys don't respect him and they don't fear him. So they're going to do whatever they want to do.
Wow.
And no one says anything.
So the commissioner is a problem.
I beg your pardon?
The current police commissioner is a problem.
It's not a problem. He was brought here to do what he's doing what he was brought here to do.
He was
brought here. Yeah, he was brought here to run him through the consent decree. That's why he was brought here, and that's what he's doing.
We were like, what is that? I was trying to figure out what it was that he was brought here to do.
The consent decree. That's what he was brought here for.
So he was brought here to go meet with the federal judge every few weeks. I mean, because he was brought here to meet with the federal judge every few weeks.
And that's why he's still here. And guess what? Brandon better not fire him. Brandon better not get rid of him, because that federal judge ain't gonna let him get rid of him. Come on, y'all. Y'all don't see the connection. Y'all don't see that.
Oh, okay. But my thing is that in other careers, you have what's called value, right? For the work that you're doing. 311, you can't get the murder rate down. 660 non-fatal shootings to 2021. Even with the consent decree, you're not effective.
Now, is the media saying that?
I think 311 families are saying that.
Is the media saying that?
The statistics show 311.
Is the media blaming Michael Harrison? Is the media blaming the police department? They're sidestepping it. They're skirting it. They're blaming everything else. One thing, the mayor and everybody else should not have put out there that this is my crime plan. Because now they're holding the mayor accountable for this mess. Because his plan, he put it out there.
Well, he should be held accountable. He ran on a ticket. He said that about a year ago that he was going to have crime reduced by 10-20%.
And absolutely.
And
what he should have done is say, me and my team, we're going to work together, me and the police commissioner, all this stuff. Again, relationship capital. Again. So he stepped out there on his own. Now he's out there. And Michael Harrison is stepping back and letting Brandy be out on that ledge all by his damn self.
Well, I think Brandon Scott built that ledge. He had that plan.
Question.
He had that plan before he even went into office. I don't know what he's doing with the plan. He had a 100-day plan. He had a crime plan. He got a squeegee boy plan. He got a plan for this. He got a plan for equity, and none of it is happening. So he built that platform, and he can jump right off of it himself because he built it himself.
Mrs. Brown,
okay, he made a lot of promises. He made a lot of promises like this, and he's not doing anything.
Mrs. Brown, you ought to run. Let your husband let you run.
I've been trying to convince her.
You ought to run.
Yeah, run away. Nicole, you have another question?
Well, the mayor has implemented this new 90-day squeegee action plan, right? So it's very interesting. He actually released it November 23rd, 2021. It's got Dr. Bunley, the Mayor Office of African American Male Engagement Director. That's that title. Okay. So since early 2020, they say that this is what they've accomplished. 43 youth have re-engaged in schools. They've gotten birth certificates for 29 youths, employed 27 youths to distribute 10,000 meals during COVID, and placed 39 youths with permanent employment. I'm just curious to know, is that enough?
Well, look, Ms. Orr, putting one kid on the right track is enough as far as I'm concerned. And I think that you got the right person in charge of that. Andre Bunley is the right man for that. And let me tell you why I think Andre is the right man for that. And I'll tell you a story about Andre a little later on. Andre is not afraid to go where people are and ask them, hey man, look, what can I do to help you? Andre is that kind of person. He's not going to come with a program or a system and dump it on you. Andre is going to say, what can I do to help you? I've seen him do it time and time again. He's from that kind of, that's how he's cut. See, I had Andre when he was 9 years old up on Whitelock Street. And I was walking out, I was a police officer up there. And Andre's mother and father died. He was living in Westport with his aunt, but he was still hanging up on Whitelock Street. And the 28 bus would come, through Whitelock Street to go downtown. If you didn't get that bus at 1 o'clock up on Whitelock Street, you had to wait until 5 o'clock the next morning for the next one to come. Andre used to always make it a point to miss that bus. I would see his little tail. And he missed it one time. I called, I said, get in this car. He's talking about, I said, get in this car. He got my car, talking about, people gonna think I'm snitching. I said, lay down in the back seat of the car. And I took Andre from Whitelock Street to Westport where his aunt lived because I didn't want that boy out there getting hurt. Andre tells that story every time he sees it. He said, this man saved my life. That's the kind of relationship me and Andre have. So I know that if Andre is in charge of it, that's going to work.
But at the end of the day, Andre can only do what the mayor and go as far as the mayor.
Right.
If he staffs his office, he can only go as far as he allows him.
And guess what? If in fact Andre feels as though he's not getting the support he's supposed to get, he'll leave. He'll leave it.
Well, we don't want that. We want to, I guess, like figure out how we can, people in general, like, is that enough? Is there anything that, I guess, as well as the broad community can help facilitate? Because like the average person doesn't know the questions to ask. You know what I mean? They just want safety. So is there, or they don't know like what it is that they should possibly do to help, to try to get this done, because 90 days, it takes a child 9 months to be born. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it's
look, it's like education. Education is a lifetime thing. Nothing is going to be done in 90 days. I mean, you may get 1 or 2 people know all this kind of stuff, but 90 days is unrealistic. I don't know who put that. Did the mayor put that out there? Did Andre put that out there?
the mayor did November 23rd. November 23rd, right before a couple days before Thanksgiving.
Who, the mayor put that out there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Now, Andre and some of the squeegee boards are going to be helped, but you're not going to turn around this whole thing in 90 days. This stuff has been going on for decades. It's not 90 days, not going to turn it around. But if we see some progress, if we see some dent, if we see something that's working, let's keep working on that thing that's working and see if we can make it, better for some people.
So, I mean, a lot of times we say here that the city is not solving crime because crime is a business. You get a lot of funding. People buy a lot of fur coats with that funding, and they just go off and do whatever they want to do with it. And I we had a conversation, and you simply said to me, if they wanted to fix it, it could be fixed, right?
Sure.
What is stopping Baltimore City from fixing this problem? But
before that, I want to leadership.
I want to go back to the squeegee situation. What would you do with the squeegee men? This situation where crimes are being committed and windshields are being broken. Should we allow squeegee boys to be on the streets? Is it a form of extortion, or how do you feel about it?
When you ask me, should we allow to have the squeegee boys on the street? That's pretty rough. I mean, that's pretty rough. I mean, I'm wondering, what laws are they breaking?
Right. So I know that in New York they had a similar problem, and there was some legislation put in place to kind of
there may be city ordinances, there may be some traffic things and all that stuff,
Right.
So my concern about these young men and young girls out there doing it is their personal safety with all that crazy traffic that's out there. So what we have to do, in my opinion, is to create more opportunities for them. Man, they want to make money, and opportunities have to be legal opportunities. So again, you go to them and say, look, what is it that you want? What is it that you want to do? Some girl may say, for example, I want to do hair. And I'm gonna tell you tell you how I would handle this if I was police commissioner. When I was police commissioner, Rick Height was in charge of my community relations division. I would send Rick out. I say, Rick, figure out what these young people want to do, and let's get started on it. And Rick would do that. And these young people say, well, maybe I want to learn how to do hair. All right, so we set up an internship, where one person's learning how to do hair. Maybe one young man would say, I want to play football. I want to do this with football and then that with football. Maybe we get in touch with the Ravens and then an internship with them. So you have to have that kind of leadership who's willing to go out there where people are, and work with them to solve their problems. You can't do it sitting up in an office someplace.
That's funny. Nicole and I always say, that would be a bad thing for us to be in any kind of office, because our desk would be on the street corners with the heaviest crime all day with my little Wi-Fi box, and that's where you just got to sit there.
And as far as crime is concerned, we were successful in doing what we did because we targeted guys with guns who were shooting people. We brought in DEA, ATF, Who else did we have? Some other federal people. And what we did was we deputized my detectives to federal agents, which meant they could go all over the place as a federal agent to go after these guys. All right. They targeted the baddest guys with the guns. We brought in federal people, and we brought these guys who sold drugs in the neighborhood and was bad people in the neighborhood. We brought them to the local police district, and the lawyers told them, we're going to send you away for 15 years, 16 years, 17 years. It was called Project Exile. And we were going to send them to prisons where it took 3 airplanes, 2 helicopters, and a bus before somebody could come and visit them. You know, you either do that, stop doing what you're doing, or this is what we're going to do to you. So you go after the shooters and you go after the people that selling drugs using your specialized people, and then you use your uniform people to come into the neighborhood and solve these other problems. It's simple. We did that.
So if you were doing that, I have to ask, because
Yes,
you know, when I was
come on,
fired from
man.
the city,
I'm
they
telling you,
asked,
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'll listen to you. I'm not going to do it.
you're not going to.
But anyway, what was the question?
So why? I guess it was under Sheila Dixon that you were asked to leave the police department.
Oh yes, she fired me.
Okay.
She fired me, and she should have fired me. She should have fired me.
Were you not performing, or why should she have fired you?
I was arrogant.
Okay.
I was arrogant.
But if you were good at what you do, I think you have the right to be arrogant. Your body count was less.
Well, you know, she thought that I had enough people, and believe me, I had a team of people who were good. And I had 7 or 8 people that I had trained in that department who would do what I was doing because they understood what we put together and they knew we put together. And when she fired me, they just stuck to it. And that's why they got the results that they got.
So
now, the second part of that was what I didn't tell anybody was consolidating all of these college police teams that we had, the sheriff's department, and all the rest of these. There's about 15 other police agencies in this city that I was going to consolidate, and all of us going to work together so that if a criminal went this place, you'd have some team that waiting for him. Went that place, had a team that waiting for him. We would have shared resources. We'd have shared information. We would have shared all that stuff. So everybody would be on the same page. We were going to bring MTA police involved in it, the sheriff's department, school police, so that these criminals couldn't escape. That was the second part of it. But I got fired before we could do that. But,
well, that sounds quite effective. I'm just baffled that you were fired with that type of.
No, look, me and Sheila are friends. I love her. I love her.
See, now now we gotta talk straight. You said about that. Liking people and loving people is one thing.
Yeah.
But we got a city that we got to clean up, and we can't just like people.
Right. When me and Sheila see one another today, we give each other dap. Hey, how you doing? What's up? We give each other dap. That's what happened. And she fired me.
Well, I'm not dapping up anybody that fired me, and I'm gonna say that. I'm not dapping up the person that fired me.
My wife says the same thing. My wife says the same thing. So I said, leave it alone. Stop. I'm good. Leave it alone. I'm good.
So this collaboration, it's like I feel like we keep switching police commissioners, and you may have great ideas, and I don't know. The current police commissioner may have some great ideas. I'll never hear them. I'll never know of them. I don't know. But they just seem to keep shifting through these police commissioners, and we're not getting
that's because ego is involved. It's an ego involved. I want to put my imprint on this stuff. We were successful because Fred Bielfeld followed what we were doing and didn't worry about that ego stuff. Because Fred came up in that department, he came up in that city, and all Fred wanted to do was the city to work. So what these police commissioners have to understand, that it's not about me. It's about these people. It's about these people. And the only one who thought that way since Fred left was Daryl D'Souza. He was the only one. And of course, Daryl got arrested and sent away.
So based on these numbers, I'm looking at the crime. Again, when you were police commissioner and looking now, has Commissioner Harrison reached out to you? Is there like a league
No,
of former the
no,
police commissioners that are there best
no,
He
practices?
said
no,
There's
no.
notebooks left.
no,
There's some trade
no,
secrets.
no,
Capital
A
N
thumb
O.
drive with some ideas.
no, 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 no,
Oh, ooh,
no. Ego, ego, no.
But that's ego in the wrong
Now
way.
here's the thing. Here's something that's curious. When I was going through some rough spots, Sheila Dixon asked me as mayor, "Have you reached out to Ed Nars? Have you talked to Ed Nars?" And I said to her, "Why should I talk to him? I got Bishop Robinson that I talk to twice a week." That shut all that down. That's when Bishop was alive. You know who Bishop Robinson was? Oh man. Oh man.
Enlighten us. Enlighten us.
Oh man. Bishop was the first black police commissioner in Baltimore City. Bishop was the one that groomed all of us to be great. Bishop was the smartest man I ever knew in my life. He was police commissioner. William Donald Schaefer took him to the state. He was in charge of juvenile services, in charge of everything. And I had Bishop, who came up in that department, and I would call, I said, "Man, look, I need your help." And he would say, "Man, what you got?" And I would tell him, he would give me a solution, and he would give me some suggestions. I would use them, and I call, I said, "Man, thank you. It worked like I don't know what." I didn't need Nars. I had the man. I had Bishop. I had the Godfather. What am I gonna mess with this little white boy for? From New York. I had Bishop.
okay. So before we start
So that's the kind of
discussing,
arrogance that I had going with that. Yeah, she had problems with that, but that's fine. We good now, man. We good.
well, that's good to
Look
know.
at Miss Brown. Why you looking like that, Miss Brown?
No, that's good to know. I'm glad everybody's getting along, but our crime rates
Oh,
are
I'm getting
everything is
along.
bad. There's
Look, I'm
trash.
getting along. I don't know about them. I'm doing fine. I hear she wants to run for mayor again.
Do you think she has a chance? Well, I'm here to tell you
Well, no, this
if
is back to ego again. Hold on. So here's my thing, and I'm going to be honest because that's all I know how to do. And people can hate if they want, hate me if they want. We've had enough of things. Marilyn Mosby, I don't know if I like or don't like or whatever. I'm kind of neutral there. I can be defensive at times of some things that she's doing. I understand it. But when that much negative attention is on your office, sometimes you have to step back and say, this is not what's best for the city, and say, I'm not going to run. Sheila Dixon, very effective, low rate, a lot of good things. But when there's so much, other things that come along with that, sometimes you have to step back and say, we need, maybe I shouldn't do this. It's better for. So when you talk about the egos, we have to stop that. And we have to put some fresh things in the city. We can't keep doing what we've been doing. And we may love and like someone and respect them, but that doesn't always mean that it's the right thing. I'm going to just leave it at that.
I agree. Well
so
said,
much
Mr. Brown.
controversy and splitting of votes and all that happens. It's just not what's best for the people. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well said.
Okay. So let's discuss your book, The Hamm Rules on Relationship, Leadership, Love, and Community. And you can go to www.hamrules.com. I'll put that up. Tell us about that book, because you've mentioned relationships several times. Tell us about your book and why you wrote it.
Well, my son, who's the chief of school police, he said to me, "Pop, officers keep asking me, how did you come from Cherry Hill to be police commissioner? They want to know. You got to write a book." So he kept pressing me about that. So I started writing this book and about my experiences. And I had the book worked around themes. One theme was mentors, for example. And I talked about mentors and all this stuff. But as I was writing the book, I found out that it wasn't about police officers or policing at all. That it really was about how to help people be successful people, the things they can do based on the stuff that I did. And what I found out in talking to people is that All successful people go through the same process in order to be successful. And one of the things that I talked about early on is that people have to make a decision early on in their life whether they want to be popular or successful. I'm telling you, you got to figure that out
I heard
because
this before.
I'm telling you, you do. I mean, you heard this from James, right? So,
The best
I'm going.
personal trainer I've ever had, and
I'm
mental
going
trainer.
right. I'm growing up in Cherry Hill, and I had to think about that. All these guys was doing all this kind of crazy stuff, and I said, I'm not doing that. Now, when you take that attitude, you're going to lose a lot of people. They're going to say crazy things about you, but these are the kinds of things you have to do, and everybody's got to make that determination. Everybody's got to make that decision for themselves personally. And whatever success is for you, however you define success, that's up to you. So when I talk about all these mentors that I had, and my first mentors, of course, were my mother and father. And as I branched out, it was these old guys in the barbershop. Oh, the barbershop, the neighborhood barbershop, the best place in the
Well, people
world,
getting
man.
shot in the barbershops now. So
I know. They weren't getting shot. They weren't getting shot back then. So, we have to straighten that out. But these barbershops, man, that's where I got PhD on life and everything else. I learned, in the barbershop, I had a man explain to me why urine is green and not some other color. And I'm looking at him. I'm about 10 years old looking at this. Oh, they were the smartest people in the world. Mentors. Mentors on the basketball court. Mentors. My high school basketball coach, Jerry Phipps, white man. He's my second father. I call him my daddy. I say my father taught me how to be a man. Jerry Phipps taught me how to be a successful man in this society. Think about that. Think about that. Then we regress, and I got Bishop Robinson, and I got all of these people just lining up stuff and doing stuff for me. Feed me this knowledge for free. For free. Now I like to think that I'm doing the same thing for somebody else. But that's basically what it's all about.
So where can we find your book?
You can find it online. Amazon is carrying it.
Okay. So again, it's the Hamm.
And if you want, I got a bunch of them here. I'll send them to you if you want. I'll send you a couple of them.
So it's the Hamm Rules on Relationship, Leadership, Love, and Community. I mean, those are the things I think we need in Baltimore.
And remember, if you don't remember anything that we talked about today, the world is based on a successful world on leadership and relationships. That's why things fail. Poor leaderships and poor relationships. And you look at Baltimore, that's what's happening in Baltimore.
Very poor leadership, but you can't tell the leadership that because they think they are good leaders. And, my thing with the leadership, a lot of Black leadership, and Nicole and I were talking about it earlier today, is that it becomes very self-fulfilling. You're worried about yourself. You're worried about just your friends.
Absolutely.
But what about the person that doesn't have a friend
Absolutely.
or doesn't? It's not about doing the right thing. It's about how I can come up, and there's just no value in that. And that is not leadership.
And what that tells you, Mrs. Brown, is they have poor character and no integrity. That's what it boils down to. Poor character, no character whatsoever. Are we finished, ladies? Is this good?
Yes, sir. Nicole, you want to wrap up? Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Brown. Appreciate it. We'll have you again.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you for coming. Again, I was just saying thank you for coming. It was wonderful. I think that the main thing, the foundation again, is opportunity. Because they're going to need opportunity for housing, employment, education, and the ability to meet mentors, such as yourself.
Right.
We have a lot of work to do. It's like we're on ground zero.
And let me share this to you. Ms. Owen. Everybody can't leave. Everybody's leaving the city. Everybody can't leave. Somebody's got to stay here. Everybody can't leave. I'm here. I'm on Madison Avenue. I ain't going nowhere.
So with that being said, would you ever consider running for office?
No. I'm not that kind of person. I'm too honest. I'm not that kind of person. I find it difficult to trick people and try to
Amen.
bamboozle people.
Well, why would you
I
have to
can't do
trick
that.
people? Why would you have to trick people? Why is politician the negative connotation of tricking and
Because
bamboozling and lying?
because all what politicians to me are not problem solvers. Politicians to me do things to get reelected. That's it.
Oh, well, then we need people that are not afraid and just to do the right thing and not worry
That's
about
it.
being reelected. So,
Well,
It's
Mrs. Brown,
politician.
huh?
They're called politicians.
Right. That's right. Politicians. That's right.
well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Hamm, for having your patience with us. We appreciate your lessons. Again, don't forget to look for his book because that's very important.
So y'all gonna have me back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another series. We'd love to have you back. I would love to invite, if you can get Jack Young on, I'd love to have you both on. Mention my name, why don't you give him a call and ask him to join you on the show next week?
Well,
we could do it.
You'd have to go up Monument Market to see Jack and talk to him.
You know what? I just have
What's
to
he
see
doing
him
up
today.
there?
Huh?
Is he working up there?
Huh?
He's working
Hangs
up
out
there.
up there. That's where he hang out.
Yeah, I saw him today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's where he hangs out. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
you.
Good night. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. We're supposed to be having some this week or next week. We're going to have some former Baltimore City employees doing a little whistleblowing and talking about their experience and the culture of being Baltimore City employees and why things are so ineffective in the government that you're paying for. So please be sure to join us. The flyers will come out. Yeah. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good
evening. Take care, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.